Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at Game 5, we got some more hoop action coming our way in this Western Conference Finals. Going to be looking at Game 5 here for the Mavs and Timberwolves back in Minnesota now. Minnesota got a chance. We all want to see if they can come back from down 0-3. I've got 4 bets in this one for you. We're going to have a little bit more, I'm sure, in the live stream tomorrow, as we're doing every day now, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow on Thursday, that we're going to be going through that stuff. You guys jump in the comments, bring your bets, and we go over that stuff together. But for now, let's just jump right into what I'm looking at here. Early time here for Game 5. This just doesn't make any sense to me, y'all. +5 for Dallas is a 9.5 swing in the other direction from what this spread was in Game 4. What changed? Like, Dallas has been dominating this series entirely. I would argue they still had the best chance of winning last game, even better than Minnesota, who got bailed out by Cat. Yet Minnesota's favored by 5 right now on DraftKings. I must be missing something, because that's not how I feel about it at all. I've got Dallas +5 in this one to cover, and I'm putting 1.2 units on it to get me more than a full unit back on my money in this one. I mean, I just don't get how it swung so much. Cat bailed them out with 3s at the end of the game. If you look at Dallas on the road, they're incredible. They have an 11.2 net rating when they're playing on the road, whereas Minnesota has not been quite the same at home. I mean, it's a little bit skewed for Minnesota because they played against Denver, who won both those games on the road with incredible performances. So it looks a little bit, out of pocket more so than it should for Minnesota with their home stats right now. But still, Dallas on the road is not anything to be worried about. It's not like they've played worse on the road. It's not like their way that they play is reliant upon their home crowd really jazzing them up. I mean, honestly, the way that they play is we just keep things slow. We keep things methodical, and you can't guard Luka. And I expect plenty more of that in this one. It took 42% field goal percentage for the Mavs in this last game for them to lose, and a lot of stuff that they just missed, honestly, in the second half. If you look at the majority of these fourth quarters for the Mavs, they're dominating. And especially in this series, they have a +20.8 net rating against the Wolves in this series in 4 games. The Wolves, as a result, obviously have a -20.8 net rating against the Mavs in the fourth quarter. And I just trust this Mavs fourth quarter offense and defense, honestly, way more than I trust Minnesota. I don't really know what to do with the total here, but I am hyper confident that the Mavs are going to cover 5 points here on Thursday night. And I'm going back to a head-to-head bet here on the rebounds for Luka versus Rudy. And it might seem odd. I'm taking the point guard against the center to out-rebound him, or at least get 1 fewer or better against Rudy. That's what the +1.5 means for Luka's boards against Rudy Gobert. -110 on DK, going to go with a full unit on that one as well. And to be, what's interesting as hell is that this is hitting all 4 games. And it takes a little bit of luck from the standpoint of Rudy had bad rebounding games the same time that Luka had bad rebounding games. But as it's relevant to Rudy, I would argue he's had bad rebounding games in all 4 of these. 8.3 rebounds per game for Rudy on 20.8 rebound chances. That is terrible, right? That is 40%, slightly worse in terms of the rebound chance success rate that Rudy is having in this series. So he's just getting worked, honestly, by the combination of Derek Lively and obviously Gafford. Lively's still questionable, but we know that we've got Maxi Kleba in there, and we know that PJ Washington's been a really good rebounder, or at least boxer outer in this series as well. So I don't really like Rudy to continue. What's interesting is he actually has 3 rebound chances deferred per game in this series as well. So that means that when he has the opportunity to go get the rebound and there's a guy around him on his team that can also go get it, he's deferred 3 times per game. And it's mostly been to Ant Edwards, honestly, who continues to get really easy boards. It seems like Rudy's a little bit more concerned and focused on boxing out guys like Gafford and Lively, who have given him a ton of trouble in this game, in this series rather, and in the season series as well when they played against him, where he also only went over twice now against the Mavs all season, including these 4 games that they played in the playoffs. For Luka, he's just getting easy boards all over the place. And as opposed to deferring his rebound chances, he's picking up all his rebounds, and his teammates are deferring to him. Because for Luka, they want him to get the board and start the fast break, right? He's the best dude to have the ball in his hands as they're going down and trying to get into transition against this Timberwolves team So they're going to allow Luka to get those rebounds, where Gobert is deferring and allowing mostly, like I said, Ant Edwards to get those rebounds for the Timberwolves. So I do like Luka to get about 9 to 10 boards. I also like Rudy Gobert to get probably a max of 10 boards. So I think there's a lot of wiggle room here. I mean, Luka out-rebounded him in the last game with fewer rebound chances. So we're going to go back to that being the case here with Luka with such a high rebound chance success rate. Going to take him to get at least 1 fewer or better rebounds in this one versus Rudy Gobert. Also going to go back to a little bankroll builder here as Luka continues to go under on the turnover. So we're going to take him under 4.5 turnovers in this one, minus 155 on DraftKings. Only a little bit worse than last game where he had 3 turnovers, right? Minus 150 last one, minus 155 now. And I still really like this bet, in part because he's playing against the Wolves, which is a team that he's turned the ball over very few times against. 8 of his last 9 versus the Wolves, he's gone under 4.5 turnovers, and he's gone under in all 6 games that he's played against this team with Kyrie Irving out there on the floor with him, in part because Kyrie takes that pressure off him. They do that your turn, my turn, your half, my half kind of stuff. And at this point, Luka's really not going to defer much on offense at all, but I still like him to go under, especially with Ant Edwards now being the one to guard him, right? And Ant's an awesome defender, no shade towards Ant Edwards D. It's mostly the fact that he's not as tall and long as Jaden McDaniels, so he's not as much in the passing lanes. He's not able to get his hand up and bother Luka quite as much. Luka can still fade away and shoot that shot pretty easily. Plus, if he does have Derek Lively back, who's still questionable for this one, but if he does have his second big man and roll man in that pick and roll play available, then he continues to be really, really accurate with those passes to guys down low in the paint, especially when Rudy sort of slides off of them to help out in the corners and whatnot. So for Luka, even though he's going to have the ball in his hands continuously and a ton, as we know, I still like him to go under 5 turnovers in this one for pretty bad juice. But if you want to take it for like 1.5 units or 1.2 and juice it up a little bit, I feel very confident in this bet. Back to the old reliable man, Mike Conley Jr. Over 20.5 points, rebounds, and assists for him. Minus 105 on DraftKings right now. I don't see that number sticking around because Mike has done this super consistently. 3 of 4 games in this series gone over this number. 11 of 14 in the playoffs as a whole. And talk about the adult in the room right now. He's the man that settles everything down for this offense, tells everybody where to get in position, even Kat, who doesn't listen, but most guys do. And more importantly, he's very involved in the offense. The only dude, obviously, with more touches on the team than him in this series is going to be Ant, and that'll continue to be the case, but he's still up above 70 touches per game, still up at around 9 potential assists and 6 rebound chances, so heavily involved in the ancillary stats as well. And the points are what I prefer more than anything. So if you did want to take just one of these stats for Mike Conley, I would go towards the points. Over 11.5 is still available on FanDuel for about minus 135, but I couldn't pass up the basically even money to add the rebounds and assists, considering how often he's doing that as well. The only time he went under in this series was in game 1, only took 6 shots, and was definitely deferring and being a little bit too passive, which seems to be a correction that was made by him and probably somebody else in the coaching staff mentioning to him, Mike, we need you to shoot. Like, we need you to have a high usage rate and be heavily involved in the offense, whether you're driving and creating plays for others or getting behind that screen on the 3-point line and hitting a good amount of threes. Since that first game, 24.3 PRA per game, 11.3 field goal attempts, and 5.3 of those are from deep because of that pick and roll, which is very, very useful with he and Rudy Gobert, something they've been doing now for years, as we know. So we're going to continue to rely on old, reliable Mike Conley over 20.5 points, rebounds, and assists in this one. And that is all the time that I have for you here. Definitely want to make sure to jump into the live stream. 5:30 p.m. Eastern time is when we're running it back, as we do each and every day now that we do have playoff hoops. Hoping for a bit more of this Western Conference Finals because I just want to talk more NBA, obviously, and have something to bet on. But if you're not yet in the Discord, I should also mention that link is in the description of the video. A lot of homies jumping in there these days. A lot of really good conversation going on. A lot of looks, even on an off day today on Wednesday as I'm recording this. Plenty of people coming in with some looks and some early bets that they want to make before these lines move too much. So jump in there to get everything early from me and to have access to this, really, like I said, a ton of eyeballs looking at all the different angles that we can bet on each and every game moving forward. So until I see you next, happy betting.